Hi everyone, I'm Sophia Chirumbole from Ohio State, and I'm going to be talking to you about some balance basics today. So one of the first questions you might ask when thinking about balance is, what are some things that actually help us stay balanced and prevent us from falling? There are actually three main systems in our body that help us do that. The first that I'm going to talk about today is our vision system, our eyes. The second one that I'm going to be talking about today is our somatosensory system. And the third one I'm going to be talking about is our vestibular system, or our inner ear system. So starting off with our vision, or our visual system, basically, as you could probably guess, we use a lot of visual cues when trying to keep our balance. We use our eyes to look around the room, to look around our environment, and we use those visual cues to kind of orient our body in space and figure out where we're at, and that helps us keep ourselves balanced and keep ourselves from falling. Next, our somatosensory system. And this one I kind of like to describe as our body's way of feeling where it's at in space at a certain time. And for example, when I raise my arm up above my head and I'm wiggling my fingers around, if I didn't have the screen here, I wouldn't be able to actually see that my hand and my fingers are up above my head, but I just kind of know that they're there because I can feel that my arm is up above my head. I can feel those joints, and that's kind of a really good representation of our somatosensory system at work. And we use it in kind of the same way to orient our whole body to our environment. And then lastly, our vestibular system, or our inner ear system. It's pretty similar to how the other two work. We kind of just use it to orient ourselves better in space. So our vestibular system has a lot of different components to it, but mainly what it does is, if I tilt my head to the side, that's kind of the thing that lets me know that I'm actually sideways right now. Or if you're on a roller coaster ride that goes upside down, your vestibular system is one of the main things that's helping you realize that you're upside down at that moment. So to kind of practice and get ourselves more familiar with these, let's go ahead and do a small experiment on our own. So if you'd like to participate, you can go ahead and stand up. So our first test we'll do is we'll use all three of those systems that I had talked about before. So for this one, we'll go ahead and stand up straight with our eyes open, so we have that visual system going. We can take in all of our visual cues, and then also go ahead and make sure you're standing on a firm and a flat surface, and that's for your somatosensory system. Mainly so that the bottoms of your feet can feel the hard ground below you and kind of help you orient yourself. So that one's pretty easy. You should be able to stand pretty still through that one. So moving on. So if we just want to focus on getting rid of our visual system and rely on our other two systems, our somatosensory and our vestibular system, all we have to do is go ahead and close our eyes, and that's going to go ahead and take away our ability to take in some of those visual cues with our eyes. We'll remain standing on that firm, flat surface, just so our somatosensory system can still be at work, and obviously we always have that inner ear vestibular system hard at work. That one should have been maybe a little bit harder. You might feel yourself swaying back and forth maybe a little bit more. And then for the third little test we'll do is going to challenge our somatosensory system. So we'll go ahead and give ourselves back our visual cues. We'll go ahead and open our eyes. And so for this one, we'll go ahead and, if it's available to you, go ahead and stand on a soft or a foam-like surface. And what that's going to do is it's going to actually take away some of your body's ability to use that somatosensory, that sense of feeling in the bottoms of your feet. You're not really going to be able to feel the hard, solid ground as much anymore if you're standing on foam. And your ankles and your ankle muscles might have to work a little bit harder to kind of figure out where you're at and to try to keep yourself standing up straight. That one might be a little bit challenging. You might feel yourself move back and forth on that one as well. Last one will be the most challenging. This one will just focus on using your vestibular system. So for this one, you'll go ahead and close your eyes again. So you're taking away your visual system. And then you're going to remain standing on that softer foam surface. So your somatosensory system is being pretty challenged there. So this one, you're only relying on that vestibular system. So this one should be the most challenging. So you might notice yourself swaying a lot more than the others. So this was just a fun little experiment to kind of get yourself more familiar with those three main systems in your body and to kind of see them at work a little bit. So a big question we might have when thinking about balance is, how do we actually measure balance, or how do we measure how much somebody is swaying back and forth when they're trying to stand still? Well, we use something called a force plate, and as you can see in the bottom left corner, it kind of looks like your typical bathroom scale you might have at your house. And in the top left corner, you can see somebody's actually standing on a foam pad that's on top of the force plates. And what that does, it actually makes it a little bit more challenging for someone to stand completely still when they're standing on that foam pad. So how does a force plate actually measure how much you're swaying? Well, it uses something called your center of pressure, and we call it COP for short. And what your center of pressure is it's actually, if you were to stand completely 100% still and completely 100% in the center of the platform, your center of pressure would be a little dot right on the center of that platform. Now, if you were to sway forward a little bit, that little dot, that your center of pressure would sway, would move forward with you while you're swaying. And if you were to move back, that point would move backwards. So your center of pressure is really just almost like if you were to take the center point of where your body is all the way down to that force plate, where that would be. So wherever your body sways, wherever your weight distribution is going, that's where your center of pressure is traveling on the force plate. So obviously, if you're swaying a whole lot, your center of pressure is moving a whole lot because it's moving with your body. So that's how we quantify and measure how much somebody's swaying, especially in the case of when they're trying really hard to stay super still and not sway. So next I'm going to talk about a super cool piece of equipment that I actually get to use here quite a bit. This is called the Virtualis platform. As you can see in the animation on your left, the platform is actually able to move and tilt quite a bit. I'll go ahead and play that again for you so you can see it while I'm talking. But a really cool thing about it is there's actually one of the force plates that I just talked about embedded into that platform right in the middle of it. So you're actually able to measure someone's center of pressure or how much they're swaying, even when the platform is tilting and rocking in different ways, which is super cool. Another really interesting thing about the Virtualis platform is it actually has a VR component. And if you don't know what VR, it stands for virtual reality. And it's where you get to put these really cool goggles on, and they make you see a whole different environment than the room you're actually standing in. And thank you guys so much for listening.